other way.
What's going on, guys? Greek Freak here, and in this video we're going to be talking about a trade rumor that's going on with the Cavaliers and the Rockets, and that is that the Rockets are interested in trading Cleint Capela, and more importantly, most likely for a player like Kevin Love. Now, of course, as we all know, Cleint Capela, who had a bad run as far as in the playoffs, asking to play the Golden State Warriors, and once again receiving that direct invitation to it, and of course did not perform well at all during that playoff series. Now, they say the fact that Cleint Capela is dealing with a shoulder injury at this moment and is trying to come back from that completely, so maybe that's the reason why his numbers are not really looking that good. But when we look at somebody like Kevin Love, a player that the Rockets are looking at, they're looking at 18.5 points per game, 14.1 rebounds per game, around 4 assists, 84% from the free throw line, and 36% from the three-point line. So whenever we look at something like that, we're looking at a player that obviously is a great rebounder, a three-point shooter. Something that Cleint Caplea is not capable of doing is spreading the floor, especially whenever we look at somebody like Mike D'Antoni's offense. I think the fact that somebody like Kevin Love really could fit in very well, even though we know the fact that Cleint Capela is a very good active player and is slightly, of course, better on the defensive end than Kevin Love is. Now, in that, of course, that's going to be sort of the trade-off here in this situation. You're going to be giving up more defense, something that we know the fact that somebody like Mike D'Antoni isn't really a big focal point onto is the defensive side, but we know the fact that they like a fast-paced, three-point shooting type of pace, and we know the fact that Kevin Love is capable of showing up in situations like this. He's played, of course, in the Western Conference for a majority of his career, where he performed very well and was able to make all-star teams, and, of course, even be in the MVP conversation just before being traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, I don't believe the fact he'll return to that type of form, but of course, when you're talking about somebody like Kevin Love, you have the ability to spread the floor, somebody who can, of course, get rebounds at a high number and high pace, as we saw there, of 14.1 per game at this season, which is slightly above what he was doing last year. So I think the fact that many people don't really look at that fact of it, and many people have looked at how the Cleveland Cavaliers system sort of changed as he went into it, of course going in there with lots of injuries. Now, with that would be basically the big main point for him, would be to make sure that he just stays out of injury problems as far as this. But as we know, I think the fact that somebody like Kevin Love would help somebody like the Houston Rockets. Whenever we think about it, we're thinking about somebody who, in James Harden, who likes to be able to go to the basket, but also can create a shot from three. And then somebody like Russell Westbrook, who's predominantly very good at being able to do a slash and drive and then pass out to three-point shooters. And whenever you have, of course, some more three-point shooters on the court, especially at the center position, which Kevin Love could go down and play, you could easily be considering that in that situation as well. So in a situation like this, of course, not only that, one of the problems that Kevin Love had as far as leaving is that big contract. And Cleint Caplea also has a big contract, which allows them to make a big stance as far as being able to make this trade without having to give up a lots of assets in this trade. Now, why would the Cleveland Cavaliers want Cleint Capela? Obviously, you're looking at 13.5 points per game, 9.6 rebounds per game, 1.3 assists per game, 1.1 steals per game, and 2 blocks per game, shooting 61% from the field. So he is somebody who does usually take high percentage shots. Now, granted, I believe this means the fact he does not take too many jump shots or way out there types of skilled shots. But whenever we look at his defensive end, we know the fact that he's very young as far as a player. So you would get a younger player out of this. You're talking about somebody who, of course, can rebound, and like I mentioned, a good shot blocking, rim protecting type center, who also is very active in the scoring position. And while he does not shoot the ball from deep or do anything such as that, in too many cases he can easily try to develop something like that, being the younger player that he is. And as far as we know the fact that plenty of players have been able to do that. Now, of course, that is the big question mark for me, for many players, is the fact that I don't ever sit there and think that all you have to do is be able to get a jump shot, because that is a lot of players in the NBA. So in a situation like this, it is definitely would be a gamble in that standpoint, but we know the fact that Cavaliers definitely have been having Kevin Love rumored in trade rumors for multiple seasons. And of course, it's really looking likely that this could be the season that they do make a trade with Kevin Love. Now, the fact that he's sort of more in the middle of that time, you definitely want to get rid of a contract if you think the fact that the player's going to get older over the time and not be able to perform at that level, especially somebody who does have injury problems like Kevin Love. And of course, somebody like Cleint Capela is a good young talent to have, even if that means you do have to overpay him if he doesn't perform at that level. But of course, the Cleveland Cavaliers do have a little bit of young talent that they're trying to build and have the ability to be able to form something around what they're doing. So I think the fact that a move in this situation would make plenty of sense for both teams. I think the fact that it really comes into a situation here of the Rockets trying to fit a piece that really fits their system a little bit better. We know the fact of what happened in the playoffs, like I mentioned. Cleint Capela did not really perform well, and we saw somebody like Kevin Love, who of course will be able to at least spread the floor and be able to add something to it rather than allowing teams to literally close up the lane when it comes to, especially with the addition of Russell Westbrook to the Rockets, who really does predominantly need a more open floor in order to perform at a higher level. So I think the fact that whenever we look at a situation like this, we have to see what happens here. Now, maybe the fact that they do stick with Cleint Capela, he is once again a young player who will be able to develop in many other ways. He's supposedly coming back from the shoulder injury that was caused during the offseason. So we have to see whether or not that actually is something that's just hindering him right now, whether that means the fact that he'll have a huge jump in his productivity to see something like that. Of course, this means the fact that if he was injured during the offseason, he didn't add too much to his game as far as a jump shot or anything that really could help out the Rockets with their spreading of the floor. So it really will come in within question of that. But of course, as always, I want to know what your guys' thoughts are on this trade rumor. Do you think the fact that this is a good trade? Do you think the fact that the Rockets will trade Cleint Capela this season? Or do you think the fact that Kevin Love will be traded this season? If so, what team do you think the fact he will go to? So I want to know what your guys' thoughts are in the comments below. So make sure that you guys leave that. And if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure that you guys leave a like and subscribe to Calpela of the Greek Army today. And as always, this is Sparta.